It's a new day and abundance is here. My name is Bisola Miriam, and in today's episode we're talking about in the previous episode we talked about neglect, and today we're talking about family dysfunction, okay, or household dysfunction. Recall that we are in the childhood trauma and narcissistic abuse series, and when we started this series, we defined we said we're gonna kick off with childhood trauma. We defined childhood trauma, talked about the different types of childhood trauma, and we started talking about the different types of childhood trauma. We said there are three groups generally: abuse, neglect, and family or household dysfunction. And so in this aspect of the series, I'm talking about household dysfunction. Now let's talk about household dysfunction. What exactly is household dysfunction? Household dysfunction, just like the name suggests, are irregular patterns in families. Things that should not happen. Things that are not good, or evils, or not so pleasant situations or patterns within families. Unpleasant patterns in families. Unpleasant patterns in families that may affect the development of children, teenagers, adults, and what have you. And so today I will share with you one dysfunction that I suffered that was a source of trauma for me as a child. So one family dysfunction or household dysfunction that was a source of trauma for me as a child was the fact that I was raised in a single parent family, okay? So that I was raised in a single parent family in itself is not a problem. But the trauma that came as a result of that social construct is painful. Painful because, one, I experienced trauma, or I was abused or made to think that I was the reason why my parents were not together. So for instance, I recall that my mother would say things like, "You are here stressing my life. Why are you not stressing your father's life? And you are just a useless child. You should go and stress your father. Don't stress my life." And you begin to think or feel guilty for what you know nothing about. I was not there when you people met each other. I wasn't there when they decided to have sex and have me. Why should I? Why should I be a victim for what I knew nothing about? Why should I be traumatized? But I'm just telling you that shit happens. These things happen in families, and it's a dysfunction when, for instance, one parent judges or make the children feel guilty for what they know nothing about. And when you're not careful and you're running away from your trauma, you are most likely going to attract your trauma in a partner. And when you attract your partner in a trauma, when you attract your trauma in a partner, you're most likely going to repeat that pattern. And that is something that I repeated because in my marriage, in my previous marriage, I remember vividly how this partner of mine would say things about my family, say terrible things, and more like putting my mess before, like rubbing my mess before my eyes. And as a matter of fact, I remember also that now that we're going through a divorce, this partner of mine will send me voice notes with our children's voice. Guess what? Our children will say things like, "Mom, are you committing adultery? Is that why you want to leave our dad?" That is emotionally abusive, even for young children. Now imagine that when I am not there, and over time, these children, for instance, will become teenagers. And the thing about children is you cannot be perfect. You would make mistakes, right? So just imagine that someone who is saying things like that, getting kids to say such things about their own mother. Now, imagine that these children do things that this person does not like. My partner, my ex-husband does not like. Just imagine what this person will say to them again if they begin to do things that, he is not pleased with. It simply means that the same thing that my mother did to me, because my father, the same thing that my mother did to me and became the basis, I became the reason why my mother always blamed me for what went wrong in our relationship. I am sure that if, you know, our kids get to a point where they do things that my ex-husband does not like, he's definitely going to gaslight them and say terrible things to them, just because their mother, for instance, is the reason why this and that and that and that is happening. Even though right now I do not have facts as to whether he's saying terrible things to them, but I know he's making them say terrible things to me. Things like, Mom, why don't you want to stay with our dad, and all of that. And that itself is traumatizing. Do not bring kids in the middle of issues that are for adults to resolve. These children were not there when we both decided to come together. And if I had processed the trauma from my childhood, and if I had healed from my pain from my childhood trauma, I'm sure I wouldn't have attracted someone like that in the first place. But that isn't that. I mean, the deed is done. There is nothing we can do about that. But there's so much more that you can do so that you do not make the same mistakes that I have made. If you do not heal your childhood trauma, you're going to repeat the same pattern in your family, in your marriage, in your relationship. And I don't want that for you. No, I don't want you to make the same mistakes that I've made. And that is why I am talking to you today about family or household dysfunction, one of which is single parenting. And I hope that you have learned something today. Do not blame yourself for anything that went wrong in your childhood or anything that is going wrong right now in your life. You can't do anything about what has happened. You can only do a lot about now and the future. I hope this helps you. Thank you for listening, and I hope that you share this. I hope that you make this go viral so that so many people can hear about this. Even more, I need your help. I have written a book, and I want this book to reach as many people as possible. How do you help me? I want you to go to bisolamiriam.com/becomingbm, bisolamiriam.com/becomingbm, so that we can put together funds. Your donations from different people across the world can come together so that, one, we can publish this book in several copies of this book gets published. Even more, we publish this book in different languages, not just even as a hard copy, but even as an e-copy or as an audio book, and even as a show, as a campaign, as a program, as a sensitization talk or talks on different radio stations across Africa. We want this information to go viral, and we need your help. Go to bisolamiriam.com/becomingbm. I cannot wait for you to support me as I celebrate my birthday. I need your help. I need your help. I need your help. I can't do this alone. I look forward to having your donations. Thank you. Abundance is here. There is no lack. And God bless you. Talk soon. Bye.